Hey guys, it's Brian from PhoneArena here. We're going to take a quick comparison look at the HTC EVO 4G LTE and the Samsung Galaxy Nexus. We're going to do a quick spec review here on the Nexus. It's powered by a TI dual-core processor clocked at 1.2 gigahertz with a gig of RAM and 64 gigs of internal memory. We're looking at an absolutely gorgeous Super AMOLED HD display at 720p. It is 4.65 inches, and as you can see down at the bottom here, we're going to have software buttons as opposed to hardware capacitive ones. Along the back, we have a 5 megapixel camera with an LED flash. This is a removable battery door, which is nice to have that option. And along the side, we also have a cool feature of the contact points. So when you pop this in a dock, different things can happen. Something we'd like to see on a lot more devices. Switching over to the EVO here, this has a slightly larger 4.7-inch Super LCD 2 display. That is utilizing IPS technology, so the viewing angle is superior on this device. It is absolutely fantastic, and you can see it almost to 90 degrees. Not sure if that's coming through on the video, but we can definitely see that. It is also running Ice Cream Sandwich Android 4.03 with HTC's newest Sense 4.0 on top. Around the back, we're going to find an 8 megapixel camera. This camera has a few tricks up its sleeve that we'll get into later. And we've got this little red band here, which houses the kickstand we know and love from the original EVO. So it's nice to see that back. We can go in one of three ways. We can go this way, we can go this way, or we can also set it this way. So a very functional, very sturdy kickstand, and it's nice to see the return here on the EVO 4G LTE. In terms of the design, let's power the screens off here just to give you a little feeling for that. The Nexus is really just a black slab. The entire thing is coated with glass. The display up at the top here has the recessed speaker, and you can also see the front-facing camera, but even the speaker hole is black. And taking a look at the EVO, we are going to find the capacitive buttons down at the bottom, and then up at the top of the housing just kind of is part of the back. It wraps around, but you have the silver display, or excuse us, the silver port, and then also the HTC logo. So it just kind of breaks up the monotony. So HTC right off the bat has a little bit more personality. Flipping it around to the back, the Samsung looks just almost exactly similar to the Galaxy S2 Epic 4G Touch. The battery door has the same texture. The camera is probably the same exact thing, except for it's only 5 megapixels, but that housing looks almost identical to it. So really, in our opinion, just a pretty uninspired, bland gray design. Nothing too exciting here. EVO, on the other hand, has the shiny black top. It's a little bit of controversy among the forum readers and whatnot, but we really are growing to like this the more we have the device. Down at the bottom, we've got the matte aluminum finish here. This is really nice. It's a very premium material. And along the side, we have the silver trim, which is actually still part of the aluminum housing. This is an aluminum unibody, so it wraps all the way around and up top. What HTC's done here is they milled this down to the original finish, and then they gave it an anodized coating back here to give it kind of a soft touch feel. And another thing we really like is going to be the physical camera key that you find on the EVO that the Nexus is lacking. Of course, the standout feature is the kickstand, and that's in that red band. The red band just really gives this phone a lot of personality. Of course, you find the red up around the camera ring here too. That's something we saw in the original EVO, something we saw in the EVO 3D, and has really become a signature of the EVO lineup, is this red color on the flagship devices. So, in terms of feel, the HTC also wins that battle. We're not really sure what it is. They're almost identical in size. The EVO is a little bit narrower and a little bit lighter and a little bit thinner, and the Nexus is just a little bit shorter. But in the hand, the Nexus feels a little bit fat, whereas the EVO just feels real solid. No build quality concerns on the Nexus, but with the plastic and this little bump down at the bottom, we're never a fan of these bumps like the Motorola's have either. The EVO is just nice, one solid line, except of course for the camera bump, which you're going to find. We do need to point out though that the camera is recessed, so even though the camera sticks out, the lens is actually recessed in there. And also, this comes off, so if you have a problem with it, you can probably just find a new back and you got a new camera lens. So it really just feels a little bit better in the hand is what it comes down to. It's a personal preference. It's really going to be what you think about it, but if it was a device we're going to carry, we like the feel of the EVO better. Same can be said about the display. We like the look of the Super LCD 2. It's not quite as saturated in terms of colors as the Super AMOLED is, but it is crisper, it is brighter, the blacks are just as deep. And the feel to the screen, we're not sure what that is, but it just feels better to interact with than really any other phone out there. This isn't a knock on the Nexus. It's the first thing that we noticed when we started using the EVO is it just feels different. Even than our 3D or our original EVO, the screen just feels really good to interact with. So great job on the design by HTC, and in round one, HTC definitely is the winner in our opinion. We're not going to go into too much depth on the software interfaces here. They both have a base of Android 4.0. HTC, as you can see, of course, has skinned their device with Sense 4.0. So that comes down to a lot of personal opinion, whether or not you like Sense versus the stock Android. What we will say is Sense 4.0 runs incredibly smooth. We don't have any problems with it. There are no lockups, no hang-ups. Something we've seen from HTC in the past is Sense got a little bloated, was a resource hog, and really didn't allow the user to customize all that much. That is definitely different here. We're going to see what they call the Rosie down at the bottom, or the launcher dock. You can move apps in and out of, create folders, all that kind of stuff. So everything looks really nice here. It, like we said, is really a personal decision. They both run Android 4.0 spectacularly. They are buttery smooth. We don't have any hang-ups, any lockups, any problems like that. So whichever you prefer, go with that. But we can't say that you're going to make a bad decision either way. For posterity's sake, we're going to take a quick look at the stock browsers here. This is the stock ice cream sandwich browser on the Galaxy Nexus. Everything works really smoothly. It scrolls, it pans, it zooms. You can pinch in, pinch out, double tap, and really everything just works pretty nicely on the device. Moving over to the HTC, they've kind of tweaked their stock browser a little bit. Basically the same functionality. You have that little snap feature where it kind of pulls the text into focus there. Some users like that, some users don't. Personally, we don't find it too big of a deal, and we can see what HTC is doing with that and making things easier to read. But it's kind of a moot point with both of these. They both perform fantastically, but we really prefer Chrome beta right now for our Android devices. And since these are both ice cream sandwich devices, we're going to be able to download that on both of them. Another thing we're going to take a look at is the camera. Let's just look at the interface here real quick on the HTC. Up top here, we're going to have the effects button where you have all your different filters. Thanks to Instagram for something like this. Of course, you're going to have the video and the camera. This is your camera capture, and then you have the physical shutter button, and you can switch over to video. Here, you're going to have your flash toggle, and then this is your settings, and all your different scene modes. So you have your HDR, you can take panoramic shots, portraits, group portraits, close-up, low light, all kinds of different options on there. So pretty standard, but also a pretty nice looking interface for that. Taking a look over at the Galaxy Nexus here, this has the new ice cream sandwich camera interface. As you can see, a lot more simple. You've got your zoom on the side. You have your settings down here where you can scroll through all your different options. Little bit menu to have some more options. You can cycle through your panorama, your video, and your camera right there, but not too much. It does have a real nice instant capture feature. The zoom, or excuse us, the autofocus is a little bit slower on the Galaxy Nexus, but both of them capture images pretty much instantly. We will say that the image results from the Nexus, while at times were really good, definitely were not as good as what we found on the HTC. Now and again, the HTC was bested by the Nexus, but on the whole, the colors were just more vibrant, more lifelike. The detail was better. It really handled things like shadows and tricky lighting conditions better. Indoor pictures also turned out better. So better interface, better results, better camera overall. And one of the other cool features is we're going to start recording a video here, and you can see we can just snap a picture while we're recording that video. So that's thanks to that dedicated image chip. So something else that's just kind of a cool feature. That actually extends into the media player as well. So if you're watching a movie, you want to take a quick screen cap, you can click that button and you got your capture right there. We know there's a lot of subjectivity that goes into these comparison reviews, but for our money, the HTC is just the better device. It has a better screen. We much prefer the design. It feels better in the hand. It looks better. As we say, HTC has kind of an inspiring design where Samsung's just kind of gone bland with the Galaxy. The camera's better on the HTC, and the performance is better too. It's very smooth running through both of these. In day-to-day performance, you won't know it, but on your Quadrant, on your Ninamark, on a lot of the other benchmark programs, the HTC just absolutely destroys the Nexus. It's not even close in a lot of these benchmark programs. So benchmarks aren't everything, but at the same time, when the scores are that different, for instance, the HTC scored just below 5,500 in Quadrant, where the Galaxy Nexus struggled to break 2,000. So just drastic differences. Like we said, the phones just kind of feel different. The HTC has crafted the premium materials. A lot of thought went into this design. A lot of focus went into it, and it really shows. Call quality is excellent with both devices, actually. But again, the HTC comes out on top, with callers telling us it's probably the best device that we've ever reviewed in terms of call quality. Samsung wins some points for the removable battery, which HTC does not have and has been taking some criticism for, but we've had the device a little over a week now in terms of the HTC, and once we stop playing with it every 10 seconds and turning the screen on, we've found that it's really a lot better than we thought it was going to be. And it's gotten us through the day with 30 to 40% battery life, even over our everyday use. So we're quite pleased with that battery figure, but of course, if you're in a pinch, you're not going to have the option of popping an extra battery. So keep that in mind. But like we said, both great devices. You really can't go wrong with either of them. But if we're going to spend some money on something, it's going to be the HTC EVO 4G LTE.